They said she wasn't polished enough, that her roots, her background would taint his reputation. So he left her for a woman who fit better into his glossy new life. But when she walked into his wedding 6 months later, arm in arm with the most powerful man in the city, he nearly dropped the champagne glass from his trembling hands. Before we dive into this story of quiet strength, self-reinvention, and the sweetest revenge success can offer, don't forget to subscribe and turn on that bell. You won't want to miss how this tale of betrayal transforms into a legacy of triumph. And wait until you hear the final twist. It's unforgettable. You ever look at someone and feel the weight of their judgment? Like they've already decided you're not enough before you even speak? That was her reality. For nearly a decade, she lived in the shadow of a man who once claimed to love her, only to turn around and treat her like a flaw in his image. He called her his queen, his ride or die. And Keisha? She believed him. She stood by him through unpaid internships, late nights, breakdowns. She held them both together, financially, emotionally, spiritually, while he chased his dream of becoming a high-profile attorney. When Marcus made it into law school, Keisha worked double shifts to support him. When he landed his junior associate role, she ran their household while building her own career in branding and media. Every milestone they hit, she clapped the loudest. She thought they were building a life together, a partnership rooted in love and sacrifice. But somewhere along the way, maybe when Marcus bought his first designer suit or started playing golf with partners from the firm, something shifted. Or maybe he just stopped pretending. It started with subtle remarks, little digs wrapped in silk. Maybe try something a bit more elegant for the firm dinner. Or some of the partners' wives asked about your accent. Maybe tone it down a little? At first, Keisha brushed them off, but they kept coming. And with each comment, Marcus chipped away at the woman who had once held his world together. She tried to adapt, bought expensive clothes she couldn't afford, took speech classes, learned about wines, memorized the names of classical composers, and tried to blend into his world, a world that never truly welcomed her. And Marcus's mother, Diane, made sure of that, with her veiled compliments like, "You look so urban chic today," or "It's amazing how far you've come, considering where you started." Keisha smiled through all of it, bleeding quietly. The breaking point came when Marcus was made senior partner. That's when the invitations to country clubs, fundraisers, and exclusive retreats came rolling in. And Keisha was no longer his pride. She became his liability. He'd introduce her with a stiff smile. He interrupted her when she spoke. He redirected conversations when she mentioned her family. And eventually, he stopped inviting her altogether. Then came the night that changed everything. Marcus came home late. No apology, no warmth. Just a quiet, calculated sit-down at their kitchen table. The same table where they'd once dreamed over burnt pancakes and midnight coffee. "Keisha," he began, eyes avoiding hers, "I think we need to talk about our future." That moment still plays in her mind, like a bad movie she can't stop watching. He spoke like he was letting go of a business partner, not a wife. "You don't fit into the world I'm moving into," he said. "My colleagues, their wives, they expect certain things. I can't keep explaining our differences." She was stunned. "Our differences?" she whispered. "Explain me?" He went on. Her family, her neighborhood, her accent, her everything. She was, in his words, holding him back. And Keisha saw them together a handful of times, at mutual friends' events, industry galas, community fundraisers. Marcus would beam with pride when he introduced Claire, the same way he used to look at Keisha. Except now it felt amplified, exaggerated. Claire would talk about her charity work and her summers in Europe, while Keisha stood a few feet away, invisible, erased. Like the 8 years she'd poured into Marcus were nothing but a dress rehearsal for the real show. The months after the divorce were brutal. Keisha moved into a one-bedroom apartment across town. She spent most evenings curled up on the couch, eating takeout and wondering what was wrong with her. Why wasn't she enough? Why didn't her love matter? She replayed every moment of their marriage like a crime scene, searching for clues for the moment everything unraveled. Friends tried to comfort her, offering hollow encouragement. "You're better off. It's his loss. You'll find someone better." But none of it helped. Deep down, she believed she'd failed, that she'd been tested and found lacking. It wasn't until her sister, Monique, showed up unannounced one Saturday morning that something shifted. Monique took one look at her, still in pajamas at 2 p.m., curtains drawn, eyes puffy, and said, "This stops today." Keisha protested. "What if he was right?" she cried. "What if I really wasn't enough? What if I'll never belong in that world?" Monique didn't flinch. "The only thing you're not enough of is angry. Get angry, Keisha. That man threw you away like garbage because he was too spineless to challenge the people judging you. And now you're mad at yourself instead of him? Nah, that ends now." It hit her like thunder. Monique's voice, her truth, her fire, it cut through the fog Keisha had been drowning in. For the first time in months, she could breathe. And beneath the heartbreak and humiliation, she felt something new, a flicker of defiance. She wasn't the problem. She never was. Marcus was the problem. His insecurities, his need for acceptance in a world that would never fully accept him either. Keisha had given everything, and now she was going to give everything to herself. That moment became her turning point. Keisha decided she would no longer shrink herself to fit into someone else's box. She wasn't going to change her voice, her story, or her soul to be accepted. Instead, she chose to build something of her own, something powerful. She enrolled in an MBA program at the local university, not to impress anyone, but to sharpen the skills she already had. Marketing had always been her strength. She understood people, community, connection. She started freelancing for small local businesses, barbershops, food trucks, nonprofits, helping them tell their stories with authenticity. Her campaigns didn't look like polished agency work. They looked real, and they worked. Word spread. Within a year, she had more clients than she could handle. She hired one assistant, then 2, then 5. She moved from her apartment into a small office, then a bigger one. She named her company True Voice Media, a nod to her own voice, the one she almost lost trying to become someone else. Her agency exploded. Big brands came knocking, drawn by her ability to connect with real people. She wasn't selling fake perfection. She was selling real connection, and people wanted more. The name hit her, Elijah Bennett, as in Bennett Global, a tech empire, a real estate empire, a philanthropic empire. He was one of the most influential business figures in the country, and he just said her words moved him. What surprised Keisha most wasn't Elijah's status, it was his sincerity. He didn't talk about money or power. He asked about her ideas, her mission, her values. They stood there for nearly 3 hours, lost in conversation about business, legacy, and what it means to build something that matters. Elijah was everything Marcus wasn't. Where Marcus had tried to refine her, Elijah celebrated her. He admired her fire, her authenticity, her heart. He loved hearing about her childhood, her journey, her family. He said, "You don't need to change a thing. The world needs more of you, not less." Their relationship grew slowly, deliberately. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was something better, real, built on mutual respect and shared purpose. He didn't parade her as a trophy. He introduced her as his equal. 6 months in, Elijah proposed. Not with a dramatic spectacle or public flash, but in a quiet moment on the balcony of her home, after they'd cooked dinner together and danced barefoot in the kitchen. "Elijah," she asked, holding back tears, "are you sure? My story's not shiny. I come with scars." He smiled, gently taking her hand. "Your story is the shine, Keisha. It's what makes you golden. I don't want someone who fits in. I want someone who stands out." She said yes, and just when she thought life couldn't surprise her again, an ivory envelope landed in her mailbox. Addressed to Mrs. Keisha Williams, Marcus was getting married. The invitation was thick, formal, expensive, exactly what she'd expect from Marcus. His bride-to-be? Claire, of course, the woman he'd replaced her with like a new accessory to fit his polished image. Keisha stared at the envelope, debating whether to toss it or burn it. But something in her said, no, go. When Elijah came home that evening, he found her sitting at the kitchen counter, invitation in hand. She explained it all, her voice steady but uncertain. "Part of me wants to pretend this doesn't matter," she said, "but another part of me needs to see it, to close that door for good." Elijah didn't hesitate. "Then let's go, together." The morning of the wedding, Keisha stood in front of her closet for an hour. She didn't want to look like she was trying to prove something, but she also wasn't about to fade into the background. She chose a navy blue dress, elegant, timeless. No flash, just confidence. Paired it with her favorite heels and a diamond ring from Elijah that shimmered without needing to scream. The venue was the Grand Oak Country Club, a place that had once made her feel small. But as she walked through those double doors on Elijah's arm, she didn't feel intimidated. She felt whole. They sat quietly near the back. The room was filled with the usual faces, polished, privileged, and practically cloned. When the ceremony began and Marcus walked down the aisle, Keisha's heart didn't ache. It fluttered, but not with longing. It fluttered with freedom. He looked like a stranger now, sharp suit, confident stride, but none of it reached his eyes. Claire was beautiful, of course, every detail curated, down to her pearl earrings and gliding walk. The ceremony was picture-perfect, but soulless, and as the crowd stood for the recessional, Keisha stayed seated, still, peaceful. And then Marcus saw her. It happened in an instant. Marcus's face changed as soon as his eyes landed on her. First, surprise, then confusion, then something deeper, panic, maybe. His gaze shifted from Keisha to Elijah, and you could almost see the gears turning in his head as realization hit. He broke from the receiving line, ignoring a guest mid-handshake, and made his way toward them. Claire followed, her smile flickering as she tried to understand what was unfolding. "Keisha," Marcus said, his voice tight, almost strained. "Wow, I didn't expect to see you here." She stood slowly, met his gaze, calm and unmoved. "Hello, Marcus. Congratulations." The ceremony was beautiful. His eyes flicked again to Elijah. "And this is Elijah Bennett," Elijah answered, extending a hand with effortless confidence. "It's a pleasure, and congratulations to you both." Marcus shook his hand slowly, his mouth slightly open. "As in Bennett Global?" "That's right." Claire joined them, her smile now hesitant. "Hi, I'm Claire. And you are?" "This is Keisha," Marcus said stiffly, like the name burned his throat. "My ex-wife." Claire's eyes widened. Her politeness kicked in, but the awkwardness was unmistakable. "Oh, well, it's nice to meet you, both of you." "You look lovely, Claire," Keisha said sincerely. "I hope the two of you are very happy together." The silence that followed was thick and pulsing. You could see Marcus trying to process the image. The woman he had once dismissed, now standing beside one of the most powerful men in America. He looked like a man who had just watched a door close that he didn't know he still wanted open. "We should let you get back to your guests," Elijah said gently. As they turned to leave, Marcus reached out and lightly touched Keisha's arm. "Keisha, could I talk to you alone? Just for a moment?" Keisha looked at Elijah, who nodded, and stepped aside without a word. She followed Marcus a few steps away, just out of earshot. "I can't believe you're here," Marcus said quietly. "With him? With Elijah Bennett?" Keisha's voice was even. "Believe it." He rubbed the back of his neck, an old habit, one she remembered from their marriage whenever he was nervous. "How did this happen? When? How long have you two been together?" 8 months, she replied. "We're engaged." Marcus blinked, stunned. "Engaged?" She nodded. "Why does that surprise you, Marcus? Did you think I'd just disappear? That no one else would see value in me?" "No, I mean, of course not. I didn't expect." He trailed off, struggling. "I never thought someone like him would love someone like me," she finished, calm but firm. "Someone who didn't go to prep school or spend summers on the Cape? Someone who doesn't fit into your polished little world?" He swallowed hard. "I made a mistake, didn't I?" Keisha paused, studying him. And for the first time in years, she didn't feel anger or sadness, just peace. "You made the right choice, for you, and that choice led me to make the right one for me." Marcus's shoulders slumped, his voice small now. "Are you happy?" "Incredibly." He nodded slowly. "Good. You deserve to be." She reached out and touched his arm gently, a gesture not of romance, but of closure. "Take care of Claire, Marcus. She seems lovely." And with that, she turned and walked back to Elijah, who silently took her hand and gave it a squeeze. No words needed. They were already said. As they exited the country club, Keisha felt something lift from her shoulders, a weight she didn't know she'd still been carrying. She wasn't just walking out of a wedding. She was walking out of her past. That night, Keisha and Elijah had dinner at the same little restaurant where they'd gone on their first date. No crystal chandeliers or 5-star menus, just soul food, laughter, and that warm glow of something real. "Thank you," she said, as they shared dessert, "for coming with me today, for standing beside me, for letting me face it." Elijah reached across the table and took her hand. "You didn't just face it. You rose above it. I'm proud of you." "I used to be angry," she admitted. "But today felt like letting go, like the final piece of my old self finally said goodbye." 6 months later, they had their own wedding. Not in a ballroom, not at a country club, but in her grandmother's backyard. Her sister Monique cried through the entire ceremony. Elijah's best man was his childhood friend, not a hedge fund manager. The food was catered by a local soul food spot. The music was jazz, R&B, gospel, songs that felt like home. It wasn't fancy, it was perfect. Looking back now, Keisha knows one thing for sure. Marcus did her the biggest favor of her life. By leaving, he forced her to stop seeking approval from people who never saw her. He pushed her to define her own worth, to build a life on her terms, to find a love that honored her fully. Because the truth is, she was never too much or not enough. She was just never meant to shrink for someone else's comfort. Her business continues to thrive. Her foundation has helped hundreds of young women launch their own ventures. And every time she speaks at a conference, she tells the same truth. The wrong people will always ask you to change. The right ones will ask you to grow and grow with them. So if you're listening to this and doubting your worth, stop. You don't have to become someone else to be worthy of love, respect, or success. You only need to become more of yourself. And sometimes the best revenge isn't bitterness. It's building a life so full, so beautiful, so authentic that the past can't touch it anymore. If this story moved you, smash that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. What would you have done in Keisha's shoes? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful true stories of strength, of heartbreak, and of rising even higher after the fall.